Hello and welcome back to Dickin' Around Outdoors. We are once again at Base Camp Patio and we're going to do some Dutch oven cooking today. If you've seen some of my previous videos, there is a group on YouTube that does Cast Iron Wednesday, and every month they put out a new theme of what the group will cook in cast iron. This month's theme was either pot roast or meatloaf. We thought meatloaf might be better for camp, so we chose meatloaf. We've got the coals heating up. We've got a Lodge 10-inch deep Dutch oven. So let's go check out what the ingredients are for today's meatloaf recipe. For today's meatloaf, we're going to use a pretty simple combination of ingredients, but I think it's going to be really spectacular. So to start off, we've got 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I can't tell you what the fat content of this is because I ground it at home, and I'm not sure. It's a mix of different meats. But we've also got 3/4 pounds of Mexican chorizo. To that, we are going to add some onion and green pepper, a couple eggs, chili powder, salt and pepper, garlic, some quick cook oats for the binder, and our special ingredient today is Blues Hog raspberry chipotle barbecue sauce. Now you want a pretty fine chop on your vegetables. If you get too big of chunks of vegetables, your meatloaf will fall apart. So today, we're going to use our Kuhn-Reichen hand food processor. If you haven't seen this, I used it in another video and I'll post that above. But this is a pretty slick little deal that looks odd, but works really, really well. Again, it's Kuhn-Reichen and it's just a hand chopper. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to chop up our vegetables. Once we get these chopped, we are going to saute these for a bit before we mix up the meatloaf. And that's it. You're spinning those nice sharp blades. We've got a nice chop on there. It's pretty fine. We're just going to do that with the rest of the vegetables, then we'll get over and saute them. But I did want to show you this. It's pretty cool. Dutch oven is warmed up. We're going to hit it with some Pam here. And you can see we've got a nice fine chop on these vegetables. So we're going to go ahead and put those in. And just saute those up, soften them up a bit before we mix them in with the meat. And during the last 30 seconds or so before we mix this, we're going to throw the garlic in and brown that up just slightly. We've got the vegetables out of the Dutch oven. We're going to go ahead, put a little salt and pepper on those. Not much, you can always put more on when it's done. We're going to go ahead and mix the veggies into the meatloaf at this point. And I'm just using a spoon at this point. But I really want to get my hands down in there, which we got going now. And you don't want to overmix this stuff. You don't want to create a big dense meatloaf, but you do want to mix it up well. All right, got the vegetables mixed in. Let's throw in chili powder, our oatmeal, and our barbecue sauce. Oh man, if you've never had this Blues Hog chipotle raspberry, it is really, really tasty. So we're going to go ahead and mix that up. And the last thing we're going to put in here are our 2 eggs. We've beaten those slightly. All right, we are mixed up. Now we've got something we're going to do with this that is going to help us get this out of the Dutch oven when we're finished, is we're actually going to mold this onto a sling that we made out of tin foil. And as you can see, there's a reason why we used a deep Dutch oven. This is a pretty thick loaf with 2¼ pounds of meat. And we're going to get it as loafish as we can. and as even as we can, because we want to make sure it all cooks at the same time. All right, let's go get our Dutch oven on the coals, and then we'll drop this in. Easy, we're just going to drop this into the Dutch oven on the sling, fold the edges over, and there is our meatloaf. And we are going to cook this today at roughly 350, which means you're going to use, give or take, 20 briquettes. We're actually going to use 21. We put 7 on the bottom. We're going to put 14 in pieces on top. Our meatloaf is done. We went for about an hour and 10 minutes. It actually was done about an hour, but we glazed the top with a little more of the barbecue sauce, just a bit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the lid off, and you can see in the Dutch oven the meatloaf actually formed a bit to the oven. So it's a free-form meatloaf, if you will, more like a loaf of bread shape than a loaf. But this is done. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take it off the coals. Just let it set for about 20 minutes to cool down before we cut into it. So let's let this sit, and then we'll give it a try. All right, after sitting for 20 minutes, let's see if the sling did the trick. We're going to go ahead and take this out of here. Simple. Now we're going to cut into this and see how it tastes. I can already tell it's not going to win any beauty prizes, but I'm more concerned with how it tastes. So let's just cut a little bit off, see if it holds up. Yes, it did not fall apart. It's not firm and dense. I think it looks good. All right, let's try this. Okay, what do we think of this recipe? First off, it's got a really good flavor. It is a little sweet, but not much, and that chipotle in the barbecue sauce gives it a nice heat. It's a nice balanced heat that goes all the way through. It doesn't kick you in the back of the throat or anything like that. It's really, really good. The other thing is, I've never used oats before. They've kept it very moist. This is not dry in any way. It doesn't need more ketchup. It doesn't need any sort of sauce on it. It's really good just the way it is. The penalty you pay for that is that it is slightly crumbly. I think the oats don't bind as well as maybe bread does, but I don't care about that. This is really, really good meatloaf. It's good as it sits, and I think it's going to make a great meatloaf sandwich tomorrow. Again, it's not going to win any beauty prizes, but if you make this at camp, I don't think you're going to have anybody that's disappointed. So, give it a try. I'll put the recipe below. If you like this content and you like learning about cooking in Dutch ovens and seeing new recipes, take a moment to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. And as always, take care, and we'll see you outdoors.